All right, we want to welcome everybody to Lime Time in Texas. My name is Dale Rand. I'm the Executive Director of the Lime Association of Texas, and today I'm going to be going through how to use our web page, and particularly how to use our calculators to calculate the amount of lime that you're going to need for any project. So this is one of the most popular tools that is out on our website, and one that we get a lot of good feedback on. So first I want to just tell you to get to our website. You type in the URL limetexas.org and hit enter on your browser, and it'll take you to our web page, as you can see here, just limetexas.org. And then if you look up at the top there's a menu of the different things that you can do on our web page. So I'm going to just go into the calculator option here and show you how we use this, and mainly tell you why we use this. So on any lime project, you're typically going to see it specified to where you know the percentage of lime that you're going to use on the project and what depth that you're going to use, or perhaps you had a geotechnical engineer go out there and then they did a study and they said, okay, you need to use, for example, 50 pounds per square yard, spread it 10 inches deep on there. And so you want to figure out, okay, how much lime does that equate to? So how much lime do you need to order for that project? So I'll go through a couple of examples of how you come up with those calculations, and it's fairly simple with just a couple of inputs, and then I'll go through how you get some of those inputs if you don't know that information. So on the first one, I'm going to put in, if you look here at the inputs that are in green, there's 4 things that you need to input: the percentage of lime, the soil density in pounds per cubic foot, the number of square yards, and the depth in inches. So hopefully you know all of that information. If you don't, you can guesstimate some of those. So I'll go through the range here in just a minute. But for example, on the lime percentage, normally the lime percentage is going to be anywhere between about 4 to 8%. The correct way to really find out the exact amount of percentage of lime that you need is you need to go through the TxDOT Design Procedure 121E Part 3, and that's also known as the Eidsgrim test procedure. When I was with TxDOT, we just used to call this a lime series, and we've done previous podcasts and blogs on what a lime series is. So that's basically just adding different amounts of lime to a soil until you get the pH up to 12.4. Once it's at 12.4, we know that that's the optimum amount of lime that you need to stabilize that soil. So hopefully you go through and you do that testing and do it correctly. If you don't, if you're just trying to estimate, let's say it's early on in the project, you haven't done the soil testing, but you want to get an idea of what it might cost you to lime stabilize a project, it's going to be between 4 and 8%. If it's a very heavy clay or a high PI clay, it's going to be closer to the 8%. If it's more of a sandy clay or a lower PI clay, it'll be down closer to that 4%. For this example here, I'm just going to type in 6% as the assumed lime percentage. But again, on most projects, that's already specified where the engineer or the designer said, oh, it's 6%. And I'm going to go over here and they're going to tell you it's 6%, 10 inches deep, for example. So I'll type in 10 inches. And all of these little rectangles where you're inputting the data, it tells you the units. So for example, soil density, it wants you to put that in pounds per cubic feet. Over here under the depth, it just says in inches. So my input here is the soil density. The soil density is typically in a range of about maybe 90 to 110, 115 pounds per cubic feet. The correct way to do it is go out and take a soil sample from the project, run a moisture density curve in the lab, and find out what the dry unit weight of that soil is. So that's the unstabilized soil, what it is just in place, so the in situ soil. So if you take it to a lab and have them run a moisture density curve, they'll come back, and I'm going to give it an example here. I'm just going to use, let's say they said 111, I'm going to say 111.11 pounds per cubic foot is what we're going to use for this example. So right off the bat, you'll see as soon as I type in that information, it shows me that I need 50 pounds per square yard for this project. Again, sometimes the engineer might just skip all that and say you need 50 pounds per square yard and do it 10 inches, spread it at a depth of 10 inches. But for this example, we know the percentage, we know what depth, and we know the soil density. And hopefully you know what area you're trying to cover. And if you've already know how many square yards, for example, on this one I'm going to put in that we're going to stabilize 10,000 square yards. So that's going to give you a number of 250 tons of lime that you need. So typically when you go buy lime, it's going to be sold in tons. And so you call the lime supplier and say, I need 250 tons of lime. And of course they'll give you the pricing and all of that, and then you'll have a pretty good idea of how to estimate that project. So a lot of the folks that use this lime calculator are estimators that are trying to figure out how to bid on a project. Or when you're looking at different options of, hey, how does lime compare to using select fill or removing, replacing a bad clay soil and bringing in new soil. So this helps you kind of come in and make those calculations. So if you know the numbers, you put them in there. If you don't know the numbers, I said you can kind of guesstimate them. And if you need help with that, you can always give me a call and I can kind of walk you through the process. But it's pretty straightforward. Now, sometimes, so that's the first lime calculator. I'm going to click on the second one down here. So let me roll down to the, so the second one, you need the pounds per square yard and the total square yards for the project. So again, on this one, let's say that the pounds per square yard, and from the example above, we came up with a 50, let me input in this one, 50 pounds per square yard, that we're going to do that, and we know that we're going 10 inches deep, but here all I need to know is that it's 50 pounds per square yard and that I'm going to stabilize 10,000 square yards, and that comes back again to the 250 tons of lime that we need for that project. So this one's just helping you do the math on converting, when you got a rate in pounds per square yard and you know the area. The third calculator down here, I'm going to click on that one. If you haven't calculated the area in square yards, you need a little bit of help with that, but you know that the project, let me say an example here, your project's 1,000 feet long, so you enter the length in feet, and here it tells you to enter the width in feet, so I'm going to use 90. Sounds like we're building a runway here. It's only 90 feet wide and 1,000 feet long. And I know the rate is 50 pounds per square yard. You can put those numbers in. Again, you're going to come back with it calculates then that it's telling you that your total square yards is 10,000 square yards, and you're going to need 250 tons for that given project. So there's 3 different ways to do it. It's a fairly straightforward process. And again, this is kind of one of the most popular tools that we have out there on our website that gets used a lot. So I'll just remind you just to go to limetexas.org, click on the calculator option there, and it'll walk you through how to do those 3 calculations. And if you have any issues with it, my phone number is at the very top of the web page there. You can give me a call, or my email is also listed at dalerand@limetexas.org, and you can go through that process fairly easily. So hopefully you learned a little bit something new about how to come up with the calculations the easy way. You can always do it by hand, but this is kind of guaranteed to give you the accurate numbers there that you can use to estimate what you need on a project. So thank you for your time today, and hope you learned something a little bit new about how to calculate the proper lime rate. Thank you for watching this episode of our podcast. If you want to learn more about the use of lime, reach out to us on our website at limetexas.org. You can also email me at dalerand@limetexas.org. And please follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.